Grab the can of coconut milk sitting in your pantry right now and look at the ingredient list. If the second ingredient isn't coconut extract or worse, if you see a list of chemical gums longer than a grocery receipt, you've just paid $4 for heavy water and thickeners. We tested popular supermarket brands in a lab to find out which ones are outright financial scams and which two are actually worth your money. Big food companies have mastered the art of selling you tap water disguised as tropical luxury. Front labels boast creaminess and island paradise, but the fine print reveals a pathetic 40% coconut content padded out with wood pulp derivatives and emulsifiers. When you pay for organic coconut milk, you expect pure pressed fruit. But behind some of the most trusted names in the grocery aisle lies a trail of deceptive dilution, hidden stabilizers, and supply chain shortcuts that should make every shopper furious. We live in an era where the booming market of plant-based milks has transitioned coconut milk from an exotic specialty item into an everyday baking and cooking staple. Consumers place profound trust in organic and natural labels when trying to feed their families healthy meals, making corporate deception feel deeply personal. With food prices at an all-time high, buying a can of water thickened with chemical additives isn't just disappointing, it's a literal waste of hard-earned money. We are breaking down 6 major brands failing independent testing, demystifying the additive codes food scientists use to trick your palate, and revealing 2 absolute gold standard brands. Expect rigorous label analysis, no-nonsense consumer advocacy, and clear, actionable takeaways for your next grocery trip. Let's open our first offender and see what you're actually paying for. Our first stop on the avoid list is a ubiquitous budget brand that relies on extreme water dilution while hiding behind sleek greenwashing labels. The illusion is pristine, tropical imagery, lush palms, and promises of rich, authentic coconut cream. The reality is far less appetizing, with coconut extract content plummeting to a dismal 45%, while the rest of the can is filled with municipal water. When you break down the pricing analysis, the cost per gram of actual coconut solids versus water reveals a massive markup for what is essentially glorified hydration. How do manufacturers legally label this as coconut milk? Because loose regulatory standards in many jurisdictions allow products meeting a minimal fruit threshold to carry the name, provided they include descriptive modifiers. Why does it separate into watery sludge when opened? Because without enough natural coconut fat to form a coherent cream, the artificial emulsion collapses the moment the can is cracked. This leaves you with a watery layer at the bottom and a thin paste at the top. But things get even more concerning when manufacturers try to fix that poor texture with heavy chemicals. Moving to our second offender, we encounter a mid-tier brand that uses excessive chemical stabilizers to simulate creamy thickness without actually investing in real fruit solids. The additive stack here is staggering, relying heavily on guar gum gal, xanthan gum, and carrageenan to artificially inflate viscosity. If you perform a physical test in the kitchen, these gums coat the tongue and leave a lingering gummy residue rather than the clean and naturally dissipating mouthfeel of real coconut. Why do manufacturers use gums instead of actual coconuts? Because water is cheap, but mature coconuts are expensive. Gums allow companies to stretch a tiny amount of fruit extract across a massive volume of water while maintaining a thick, luxurious texture on the shelf. What are the subtle taste giveaways? A slightly slick, gelatinous aftertaste that refuses to melt away cleanly. Unfortunately, this heavy stabilizer load often leads to digestive distress, causing bloating and discomfort for sensitive stomachs. But inferior ingredients are only half the battle. Our third brand brings structural packaging hazards into the mix. Our third target is a brand plagued by both inferior ingredients and questionable can lining integrity. The packaging flaw here involves residual chemical leaching risks from substandard interior can linings that degrade when exposed to acidic food properties, overextended shelf lives, combined with higher levels of stabilizers and a low fruit percentage. This product benefits entirely from a legacy marketing halo, riding on decades of brand recognition while quietly cutting corners behind the scenes. Are BPA-free claims on cheap cans actually trustworthy? Independent testing frequently reveals that manufacturers substituting bisphenol A often use alternative epoxy resins like BPS or other plasticizers that carry their own emerging health concerns. How does metal interaction alter the flavor profile? When the protective interior lining breaks down, It imparts a faint metallic tang that ruins delicate culinary dishes. Yet, if you think metal leaching is bad, our fourth offender goes a step further by actively doctoring its formulation with hidden sweeteners. Landing at number 4, we expose a brand targeting the health food market that sneaks in hidden sugars and cane syrups to compensate for low coconut maturity. The hidden sugar profile is designed to mask the bitter, astringent flavor of immature green coconuts harvested before they develop natural sweetness. This creates a severe nutritional mismatch. The product is heavily marketed as keto and paleo-friendly on the front label, yet it delivers a hidden glycemic spike that shocks unsuspecting consumers. How do they get away with it? Through label sleight of hand, bearing sweetening agents under ambiguous terms that bypass casual shoppers in a hurry. Why use unripe coconuts in the first place? Immature nuts are cheaper to harvest in bulk, yielding higher water volume with lower agricultural investment. But the financial exploitation reaches its peak with our fifth target, which coasts entirely on an overpriced luxury halo. Our fifth brand charges double the market average for identical, mediocre contents, relying purely on fancy typography and imported aesthetics to justify a steep price tag. Comparative testing against budget alternatives reveals zero discernible difference in blind taste panels, proving you are paying for corporate profit margins rather than quality ingredients. How do companies justify premium pricing in this category? They rely on the psychological bias that higher prices automatically signal superior health value, a classic marketing illusion that preys on wellness-focused consumers. But financial markup pales in comparison to the ethical violations surrounding our final brand on the avoid list. Our sixth and final offender is a brand marred by severe labor sourcing controversies and exploitative supply chain practices. The dark side of mass harvesting in certain regions has been heavily documented by international animal welfare and labor watchdogs, revealing practices that rely on exploited labor and unethical treatment of working animals. The corporate cover-up usually involves vague sustainability pledges and unverified greenwash certifications plastered across the back of the can to placate conscious buyers. How can you trace where your canned coconut milk actually comes from? True transparency requires direct farm audits and verified ethical supply chains, rather than self-regulated corporate stamps. Voting with your wallet against these exploitative models is the single most effective way to force systemic change in the global food industry. While drowning your food in chemical gums to fake thickness is bad enough, it doesn't hold a candle to the brands that pair subpar ingredients with questionable can linings that leach chemicals directly into your meal. To help you navigate these supermarket pitfalls, let's take a quick educational interlude. Decoding additive codes is your ultimate superpower as a consumer. When you see guar gum, xanthan gum, sodium metabisulfite, or mysterious emulsifiers, you are looking at industrial band-aids used to hold water and cheap fats together. The golden rule of clean label shopping is remarkably simple. Look for a maximum of 2 ingredients on the back of the can: organic coconut extract and pure water. True premium coconut cream naturally separates over time because it lacks chemical homogenizers. When you open a quality can, you should see a thick layer of solid cream floating over natural coconut water, requiring a quick whisk or shake to blend. It is time to step away from the artificial stabilizers and discover what real coconut milk looks like. Introducing our first winning product, the Organic Minimalist Standard. This brand delivers a clean, unadulterated product that respects traditional production methods with an ingredient profile consisting of exactly 2 components: organic coconut and pure water, with 0 gums and 0 fillers. The texture and performance are exceptional, featuring a high natural fat content that whips into genuine, decadent coconut cream without any artificial assistance. How does this brand achieve creaminess without chemical stabilizers? By using a high percentage of mature, nutrient-dense coconut meat pressed at peak ripeness, ensuring the natural oils provide the thickness naturally. The value proposition here is outstanding, offering fair pricing for a high percentage of actual coconut solids rather than expensive water. But there is one final gold standard that takes purity and ethical sourcing to the absolute pinnacle. Our grand finale is the single origin gold standard, representing the absolute best coconut milk available on store shelves. This product features a flawless profile, single origin sourcing, zero exploitation, fully certified organic ingredients, and a verified BPA-free lining that guarantees absolute safety from metal leaching. The sensory and culinary excellence is unmatched, setting the benchmark flavor, aroma, and mouthfeel for curries, baking, and morning coffee. Why is single origin sourcing a game changer for flavor? Because blending coconuts from dozens of random, unverified mega farms flattens flavor profiles and masks poor quality, whereas single origin farming preserves the distinct terroir and natural sweetness of the fruit. This brand sets the blueprint for ethical food manufacturing, proving that commercial scale does not have to compromise integrity. Your pantry should be a sanctuary of nourishment, not a dumping ground for corporate cost-cutting and watered-down fillers. Reading past front-of-can marketing and checking for simple, clean ingredient lists is the single most powerful way to protect your health and your wallet. You are now fully equipped to walk down the grocery aisle like an expert investigator. From chemical-heavy imposters to ethical single-origin gold standards, you know exactly what is worth your hard-earned money and what belongs left on the supermarket shelf. Check the can in your pantry right now and let me know in the comments if it made the avoid list or the amazing list. And make sure to subscribe for more no-nonsense consumer deep dives.